A very good morning, children. Today we are going to start with the poem A Tiger in the Zoo, which is composed by Leslie Norris. Here the poet presents the two images of the tiger, one a tiger in the zoo and a tiger in the natural habitat. We all know the animals have a place on the planet. They have the right to live in their natural habitats. In contrast, zoos do not have ample space for the animals. On the other hand, wildlife freedom cannot be offered to them through any facility in a zoo. Personification of the tiger is evident as the poet calls him he instead of it. The tone of the poem represents the hidden rage of the tiger. The poet wants to convey that it is cruel to keep the wild animals in small enclosures of the zoo, away from their natural habitat. They feel angry, helpless, and unhappy and remember their life and environment in the forest. पोएट यहाँ टाइगर के मेंटल कंडीशन के बारे में बता रहा है कि एक टाइगर जो केज के अंदर है और एक टाइगर जो अपने नेचुरल हैबिटेट में है, इन दोनों का मेंटल कंडीशन बिल्कुल डिफरेंट है। एक अपने नेचुरल हैबिटेट में बहुत ही एक्टिव है, दूसरा केज के अंदर उसकी एक्टिविटी बहुत स्लो है, नहीं के बराबर है। The poem consists of 5 stanzas. Each is made up of 4 lines. The poem has 2 distinct settings. The first setting is that of the zoo, where the tiger is put in a cage. The second setting is that of the natural wild habitat of the tiger, which should have been his real place. Children, we will proceed with the brief explanation of the stanzas. Here is the first stanza. He stalks in his vivid strides, the few steps of his cage, on pads of velvet quiet, in his quiet rage. He stalks in his vivid stripes. Stalks here means to walk in an angry or a proud way. Vivid stripes, you have seen the bright long lines on the body of the tiger. The few steps of his cage, cage here means zoo, on pads of velvet quiet. Pads here refers to the paws of tiger in his quiet rage, in a very violent anger, but without showing it. The tiger is bound in his cage. Stripes on his skin are clearly visible. His heels look like pads of velvet. On his pads of velvet, he walks quietly within his cage. He doesn't seem to be happy to be in his unnatural abode. So, without showing his anger, he walks around quietly in his cage. Stanza 2. He should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass, near the water hole where plump deer pass. Lurking here means hiding. Children, looking at the imprisoned tiger, the poet is filled with pity. He feels very sorry for the tiger. He says that the poor tiger should have been in his natural habitat, that is, in the jungle, hunting and resting. Then at this hour of the night, he would have been lying in the shadows of trees and sliding quietly through the long grass. He would then near the water hole, the water area where usually the prey of the tiger comes to quench their thirst, and waiting for some fat and healthy deer, the prey of the tiger, to pass that way. Thus he would be lying there in expectation of a heavy feast. Stanza 3. He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge, baring his white fangs, his claws terrorizing the village. Children, here snarling means to make an angry and warning sound, and baring refers to the showing the two white sharp teeth of the tiger. In these lines, the poet imagines what the tiger would be doing in case he failed to find any prey in his natural habitat. He says that the tiger would be angrily moving around the houses in a nearby village for his prey. He would be showing his white fangs and the terrible claws while moving here and there. He would thus become a cause of terror for the villager because he is not finding his prey. The poet here wants to take our attention towards the forest which the human being destroyed, and that was the natural habitat of the tigers. They will be forced to turn to our towns and villages to find their food. Tiger, stanza 4. But he is locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. Children, here concrete cell means a very small and the unpleasant cage where we used to keep tiger in the zoo. Stalking means moving slowly and quietly, but in a very threatening way. The poet sees the tiger is locked in a concrete cell in the zoo. In spite of his strength, he now lies imprisoned behind the bars. Very slowly and silently, the tiger moves up and down along the length of the cage. He moves in an angry and threatening manner. He takes no note of the visitors who had come to the zoo to have a look at him. He completely ignores them, as none of them thinks of releasing him from his prison. Moreover, due to their presence, he hardly gets any rest during the day. Stanza 5. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. Children, here patrolling means to go around an area at the regular times to check that it is safe. Here brilliant refers to very bright. At night, the caged tiger hears the last voices of the patrolling cars. Being locked in the cage, he looks towards the sky. He goes on staring the brilliant stars that are shining freely in the sky like his brilliant eyes. It seems that he is looking for some sort of comfort and hope in these stars. His brilliant eyes show that he still hopes for the day when he would be able to run free in the forest and live in natural surroundings. Now, children, to conclude, we will summarize the poem. The poem provides a contrast in the mood and environment of a tiger when he is in the zoo and when he is in the forest. In the zoo, he has no liberty. He is kept in a cemented cell behind the bars. He feels angry, frustrated, and helpless. This reminds him of his natural habitat. His hiding and sliding in the long grass near the water hole and pouncing upon the fat deer. How he terrorized the villagers, displaying his sharp teeth and claws. At night in the zoo, he hears the sounds of patrolling cars and looks at the bright stars with his bright eyes. The brilliant star shines in the sky and his brilliant eye shines in the night. He can't free himself, but he keeps on watching the brilliant stars standing behind the bars of his caged habitat. Here are some poetic devices used in the poem. First is repetition of words, phrases in the same line. Velvet quiet, quiet rage. Quiet word is repeated twice. Brilliant eyes, brilliant stars. Brilliant word is repeated twice. Next is children, alliteration, which means the repetition of initial consonant sounds in the same line. Here is the example. He stalks in his vivid stripes. In this line, S, S is the consonant sound repeated. But he is locked in a concrete cell. In this line, children, C is the repeated twice in concrete and in cell. The rhyme scheme in this poem is A, B, C, B in first, second, third and fifth stanza. But in fourth stanza has A, B, C, D rhyming scheme. Next important poetic device which is used is metaphor. Tiger's paws are compared with velvet. Velvet denotes the soft part under the foot of the tiger. And next, enjambment. Here the sentence is continuing to next line without any punctuation mark.